How is everybody doing? Welcome back to another episode of The Banker Next Door. I am your host, Dr. Joe Berquist. So today I wanted to give everybody an update on the labor market. What does the labor market look like going into 2025? And I've got a number of articles here today. I'm not going to go, in depth in every single one of them because I don't want to have everybody sitting here all day. I'm just trying to give everybody kind of a quick update here on what's going on. So let's bring these in here. So this was kind of an article that kind of encompassed a number of other articles, a couple of which we're going to look at here. But this basically said a look at how the U.S. job market workforce evolved throughout 2024. So a couple of the articles here were, younger U.S. workers struggle for jobs as entry-level posts disappear. U.S. labor market resilience weakening as joblessness worsens. College degrees losing edge as graduates find splintered, weaker U.S. job market. And then it goes here, joblessness gap between new college grads and non-degree young workers nears an all-time low. So the difference between unemployment of 22 to 27-year-old workers with and without a bachelor's degree, you could see there, kind of spiked up here around 2020, but that has really, really come, way back down here, as we can see on the chart. Then we see layoff surge in U.S. white-collar jobs as rates and AI alter the office work. And then we also see U.S. workers without high school diplomas push prime-age workforce to new high. Share of workers with high school diplomas on the rise. Workforce participation rate 25 years and over. So you can see here the workforce participation rate. I think that's actually kind of high because I think if you look at some of the other numbers, it's more like 62%, but I don't know, we'll let that go for the moment. And then coming down here, Fed cuts hinge on whether U.S. labor market is cooling or collapsing. Well, we kind of got our answer on that already. Lowest paid workers hit hardest as unemployment climbs to multi-year high. Least educated Americans seeing the biggest increase in unemployment. That's because all the jobs are going to, wait for it, foreign-born workers. And then we go through here a number of other ones here. Government data paints divergent views of U.S. job market strength. Soaring U.S. immigration helps cool wage growth. You better believe that. U.S. wage inflation moderates, boosting the odds of a soft landing. And then U.S. wage growth hits highest level since March of 2022. Another chart here on monthly wage growth in January, highest since March of 2022. But that's kind of an older chart at this point. But let's see here. So that's kind of the overview. And now let's jump into some of these articles here. So younger U.S. workers struggle for jobs as entry-level posts disappear. So joblessness among some of the youngest potential workers in the U.S. has risen as high interest rates, elevated labor costs, and advancements in AI dampen hiring of recent college graduates in an otherwise strong employment market. In November, 7.8% of Americans aged 20 to 24 were unemployed, near the highest in more than 3 years. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, joblessness was also more than double the 3.7% rate for prime age workers between 25 and 54. The overall jobless rate was 4.2%. Companies have become increasingly reluctant to hire younger workers as rising wages and still elevated interest rates drive up costs and deter expansion. College graduates also face competition from AI as businesses look to automate tasks traditionally carried out by junior workers in areas such as engineering or computer coding. See the H-1B argument. I'm not touching that. I'm not getting into all that. But at least not right this second. But yeah, if you've been paying any attention online, quite the interesting argument around engineering and coding, so to speak. All right, but again, I think this is what we've been seeing though, is that the really good jobs, the nice paying white collar jobs are going down. We've seen a negative growth in that throughout 2024. The big growth again, it was the main growth, the main driver was all in government jobs and part-time jobs. So if you didn't have a whole bunch of government spending and have the IRS, for example, going out and hiring 85,000 new agents. The job market would really not be anywhere near as good as what the headline numbers would suggest. Moving on here. So U.S. labor market resilience weakening as joblessness worsens. So the U.S. labor market has begun to weaken after months of soaring interest rates and recession warnings. The U.S. employment rate climbed to 4.2% in November, up from 3.7% in November of 2023, indicating 883,000 more American jobless than a year earlier. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reports December 6th. Meanwhile, the labor force participation rate, which measures the share of working age population for a job, fell to, like I said, that's what I said a minute ago. Like it fell to 60. I thought the number was 62%. It fell to 62.5%, its lowest level since May. Again, I think these numbers are misleading because I have talked about in past episodes with the unemployment rate. There are different levels of unemployment. There's what's called the U3. There's the U6. These numbers, like the 4.2% in November, and I would say they are expecting in January for that number to creep up to like 4.3 or 4.4%. But if you look at the U6, which I think is the more accurate unemployment number, it's at like 6.7%, which I think is a much more, realistic view of where the labor market currently is right now. I think this idea that we've been at this sub 5% unemployment for the last 4 years, I think that's a joke. I mean, we have not been. We just have not been sub 5 unemployment. I just don't believe that number. And like I said, if you look at the U6, which is like 6.7%, I think that's a much more accurate indication as to where we're currently at. And then furthermore, it says here like November 2023, indicating 883,000 more American jobless than a year earlier. Well, yeah, let's see here. Back in August, if you recall, we got the Bureau of Labor Statistics put an adjustment that basically said there was 808,000 jobs that they reported that didn't exist. They were just 800,000 jobs that they just made up. So now they come back here and say, oh, well, it looks like there's 883, more Americans that are jobless than a year earlier. Well, no crap, because that was 800,000 jobs that you guys just made up. And then in January, this month, we're going to get another revision, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's another huge number, somewhere, anywhere between 600,000 and another million jobs that they probably say were bogus that never existed. And then you had the Philly Fed report, which basically came out, which said that they did a revision to the first 6 months of last year in 2024, basically saying that, oh yeah, the labor market was way worse than we initially thought, and all the jobs and everything was basically overstated, and the labor market's actually not performing anywhere near as good as we thought it was. So again, I think we have a lot of data, we have a lot of information that suggests that these headline numbers are just not accurate, and that's not a good indication as to where the labor market is right now. But let's move on here. So just a couple other things to look at here. So this article basically said managers are hiring, but workers are still getting ghosted. And basically, this says, hiring managers enter the new year optimistic about adding employees to their companies. How they make that happen might end up being a source of some frustrations. According to a survey of hiring managers by Harris Poll on behalf of Express Employment Professionals, 84% of respondents said they were positive about their hiring outlook in 2025. 63% said they anticipate increasing the size of their workforce, with 19% planning significant increases and 44% expecting slight growth. That 63% rate matches the percentage of hiring managers who said last year they plan to increase employment count in 2024. Just 6% of hiring managers anticipate decreasing the workforce, down slightly from 7% at the beginning of 2024. So there definitely seems to be more optimism here. But possible sources of frustration. While Americans' GDP growth remains positive, layoffs remain low and unemployment has stayed down. Okay. But for job seekers and employers, 2025 is shaking up to look a lot like the second half of 2024. Neither too hot nor too cold, but somewhere in the lukewarm middle. So there you have it. So, see what happens. We see what happens with that. Then we also have something here called the death of the middle management, why the roles are under fire, So we basically have, and it goes on to say, Amazon is aiming to become faster and cut out busy work, and it's targeting the middle manager to do so. And I think this is really where AI basically starts to come into play here. Like if they could get AI to make people more efficient, get people doing a lot of stuff that they would be able to give to, entry level workers. That can help them bring their costs down. So again, this is where we're going to see AI really begin to go after these middle management positions. And then finally, I thought this was kind of interesting. What are some of the hottest jobs heading into 2025, and do they have a common thread? And or they have a common thread? And here's a hint: it's not AI. So what are some of these jobs? Let's take a look here. Number one is customer service team leader. Number two is childcare worker. Number three is content strategist. Number four, urban planner. Number five, operations team leader. Number six, business operations manager. Number seven, insurance sales agent. It's kind of interesting. Number eight, crew leader. Number nine, general manager for a hotel. And number 10, mental health counselor. So so kind of interesting. So some different jobs there coming in, and these are labeled as the 10 hottest jobs as ranked by the fastest growing wages according to pay scale. So like I said, I just thought that was interesting. So again, just did this episode. I wanted to give everybody just kind of a flavor real quick for what is happening in the labor market as we get in here to 2020-25. And it looks like this is going to be kind of a lukewarm year, lukewarm in terms of hiring. But I think the biggest thing that is going to happen, I think, over the next 6 months is that the real labor market numbers, I think with the administration changeover, we are going to start to get the real labor market numbers, and they're not going to be pretty. And that's going to put pressure on the Fed, I think, to cut rates more than they currently have. But will they be willing to do that if inflation is still high, if GDP is still, somewhat decent? We'll have to see. And then I think government spending is going to play a huge part in this. Can we really get if they reduce government spending, that means we really need to get the economy rocking and rolling again. And that means we need to get people hiring. And they're probably going to use tax cuts to do that. So it'll be, like I said, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I think the important thing to note is just what's going on here. And I just think that the labor market is not as strong as what we think it is, but it's lukewarm right now. And I think there is a chance that the first 6 months of this year maybe not be that great, but I'm hoping that maybe the second half of the year, maybe things start to pick up a little bit more as the new administration kind of takes hold, as we begin to see what they can get done, what they can't get done. And it gives us a little bit more indication as to how things are going to kind of play out here over the next year or two. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap up with that. So if you like this episode, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, as that always helps the channel. Please leave your comments down below, as I always love getting back to everybody. Remember, we are on YouTube, Rumble, and all major podcast platforms. And please check out some of the other content on the channel. And I will see everybody again real soon. Take care.